On May the 10th, 1940, Winston Churchill was made Prime Minister of England. That was at a time when the great German air fleet was making round-the-clock stops across the Channel, dumping plane load after plane load of bombs on England. England had been beaten to a state of almost insensibility, and nobody knew whether the British would be able to survive for another week or a month. If this nation was to survive, someone had to be found who could pump into the British people the will to win. And everybody knew that if anyone could do that, that man's name was Winston Churchill. For in no one did the fires of freedom burn with a brighter flame. Now, I would just like to have you imagine how you would feel if the problems of a giant groggy empire were suddenly dumped upon your shoulders. This is how Winston Churchill felt. He said, "As I went to bed at about 3 a.m., I was conscious of a profound feeling of relief. At last I had authority to give direction over this whole scene, and I felt as though I were walking with destiny, that my past life had been but a preparation for this hour, for this trial. I could not be reproached either for having made the war or for lack of preparation for it, but I felt I knew a good deal about it, and I was sure I would not fail." Fail to do what? Fail to save the world from the greatest mechanized might ever known in the world. Then Winston Churchill went before Parliament, and he said, "You ask, what is our policy? I will say it is to wage war by land and by sea and in the air, to wage war with all our might and with all the strength God has given us, to wage war against a monstrous tyranny. That is our policy. You ask, what is our aim? I answer in one word: victory. Victory, no matter how long or hard the road may be." Then he went on the radio and said to the British people, "We shall not flag nor fail. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and the oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and power in the air. We will defend our island, whatever the cost of it may be. We will fight on the landing grounds. We will fight in the fields and in the streets. We will never surrender. And if, which I do not for a moment believe, this empire or a large part of it were subjugated and starving, then our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, will carry on the fight until in God's own time the new world in its power and might steps forth to the rescue and liberation of the old."